Mr. Punk, how are you doing today?
I'm doing just great. I'm still a bit sick after the US tour because of the AC. I mean, I don't understand why they make the restaurant to like 10 Celsius when outside it's like 30. Outside it's shorts and t-shirt. Weather, you go into a restaurant and it's like the winter. So it fucked me up really bad. I'm still coughing.
Starting from the beginning, you've stated that some of your earliest introductions to electronic music came in the form of Kraftwerk records and the soundtracks to the Doom series. Do you remember how you initially got exposed to them?
My parents were kind of conservative and like simple people, not in the wrong way, but they were like workers. And also, I'm from Eastern Europe. So, Eastern Europe is always 10 years behind the US and 5 years behind Western Europe, or even more. I think I was like 16 when I first had internet at home. So I had to discover music from an earlier age, either from television or through friends like my friends gave me CDs and tapes and stuff like that. I think I was just around 6 when my father got me a Kraftwerk tape because as a kid I was really into robots. I was a huge fan of the Transformers comics, of course, like every normal kid, I guess. But everything related to robots, I was a fan of that. My father got me that tape saying, "Hey, this is robot music." And I checked it out and it became my favorite. The songs like We Are Robots and Trans Europe Express, Man Machine, I think heard them like thousands of times as a kid. Mainly because, I didn't have a lot of music. So I had like, I don't know, 5, 10 tapes and I listened to them over and over again all the time. I think the first tape, actually, the first album I listened to in an album format, that was Kraftwerk. Second one was Jean-Michel Jarre and then Mike Oldfield. Then later I got into like mainstream industrial metal like Rammstein and stuff like that.
And that eventually to the Doom games somehow?
Oh yeah, definitely. That was the same case for a long time. I didn't have a computer. I just went to my friend's place and we played the first 2 parts of Doom at this guy's place, and I just fell in love with the game itself and the music. I mean, still to this day, I don't really play video games, not because I don't like them, but because I like them too much. If I start playing a game and it's fun, I can spend the next week doing that. I don't really have a lot of free time, so I'm trying to hold back. But when I'm in the mood, I play Doom 1 or 2 or Brutal Doom. That mode is really fucking cool.
I haven't gotten the chance to try it because I'm unfortunately a console peasant, but it looks fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, even John Romero seen it and he said if you made Doom these days, it would look like that. I mean, it's even better than, Doom 3 and the new Doom. There's just something about the old school Doom which makes it really an outstanding game, even in these days. When it came out, it was completely new and instantly became a classic. But anyone who is into that game can tell you that even in these days, just the gameplay is so fun. I don't know if there's any other game since Doom, which is so addictive. I mean, a Doom I finished like 100 times. I couldn't name another video game that I can play over and over again so many times, and it's still fun.
I understand that your first attempt at producing electronic music didn't go over very well. According to you, someone whom you shared some of your earliest work with stopped the tape before the first song had even ended, called it shit, and chucked it out the window. Would you be willing to fill in the blanks on that incident?
I think it was in elementary school, and I kind of experimented with electronic music. I didn't want to be a musician or anything. I just played around. Yeah, and part of the reason that was I had a very slow computer, so I could never play the same games that the other kids were playing. After a while, I played Doom tons of times. I started doing other things on the computer, like basic stuff, drawing. I made very simple video games, experimented with music a bit as well. And once I made a few songs, I took it to a party with my classmates. We were like, I don't know, 12 years old or something. When one of the CDs finished, I put on my CD. I just wanted to see the reactions. Like, will people notice that it's my music, not some professional stuff. And well, yeah, they noticed after like a minute, one guy shouted, saying, "What the fuck is this shit?" Opened the CD player and threw my CD out of the fucking window. So yeah, that was my first feedback as a musician.
You had mentioned that you didn't initially want to go into music. I understand that you had a few other areas of interest that you dabbled in. Obviously, video games, as you mentioned before, and photography was another. But the one that stuck out to me was pyrotechnics. Is that true?
I mean, I never really got into pyrotechnics that much. I mean, I made smoke bombs at home. I don't know if younger people can relate to this, like millennials, but when we were kids, every little boy was doing is just playing with fire, burning stuff and making bombs and smoke bombs. I wouldn't call myself I don't know, pyrotechnician. One of my friends made an actual bomb, but it blew up in his face, but he lost, I'm not sure, 4 or 5 fingers. So yeah, I had some friends who were a lot crazier than me.
Prior to LAZERPUNK, were there any other acts of yours that you made a big push for that you'd be willing to talk about?
I had several projects. Most of them I never released anything, basically because I'm kind of a perfectionist. And of course, in the first few years, what you're doing is not gonna be perfect. It won't be even good. So I didn't release anything because I was not satisfied. The reason I started LaserPunk was actually I said to myself, I can't be doing it like this. I need to be more chill about it and just make some songs, release it, and don't give a fuck what people think. If someone likes it, they will like it. If someone doesn't like it, they won't like it. Worst case scenario, nobody's going to listen to it. I gonna do something else. So this is how I started LaserPunk. Just wrote a few songs, made an album, released it. When I started getting some positive feedback, maybe I'm not completely useless in this field. And then I made the second album where I was, trying to do something good. By that time, I was already doing, wouldn't really call them shows, but there was a few live sets I did. And after the second album, I got some really good opportunities. Like I opened for Perturbator and Carpenter Brute and did some other pretty big parties. I think it happened because in Hungary, I was pretty much the only one. There were a few other guys, but they were even more new than I was. After the second album, I really got into music and started thinking like maybe there's a chance I could do it full time one day and do really big shows and do tours and everything. That's what kind of got me into creating the third album. That album turned out really, really great. That is the album that made me into a full-time, internationally touring musician.
Is it true that fellow artist Vestron Vulture was the one that kind of introduced you to the synthwave scene in the first place?
Yes, it is true, and I'm surprised that you know that. It's good that you remind me because I haven't talked to the guy for a long time now, and I'm wondering what he's up to right now. If I remember right, back in the day, I spent a lot of time on all kinds of internet forums. One of them was the 4chan, and on 4chan there's a board, MU, like the music board. If I posted my music or we just talked about retrowave or synthwave, and then we started talking with Western Butcher without knowing who each other is, that's how our relationship started. And then I added him on Facebook, and then he introduced me to the scene, to the relevant Facebook groups and all that.
As stated before, you're a big fan of Doom, and I understand that the track World Eater from your Nightcrawler album was meant to be an homage to the third game. Given that you've said that the first two games are your all-time favorites, what exactly made you want to honor the third entry instead?
Well, I always used lots of samples from video games in my music and in my video games. Despite Doom 1 and 2 are classics, I really loved the third part as well. I mean, it's completely different. The whole feel and vibe of the game is different, but on its own terms, Doom 3 is also a very, very good video game, and I played that, I don't know, countless times. I mean, even if you don't like the third part of Doom, the music and the sounds are really, really good.
On the final track of Nightcrawler, The Fading Memories of Summer and You stated that that was also meant to be an homage, this time to your favorite producer, Aphex Twin. Were there any particular works of his you looked to in particular when composing that track?
Not really. I didn't try to imitate one song by him, but I pretty much love all his works. He's a genius. and I really, really look up to him. But my favorite works from him are the ones that he released under the name AFX. It's kind of his more chill and older works. I think those tracks have such a unique atmosphere that I don't even have the words for that. But just by looking at his fan base, like how many fans he has and how crazy they are, you don't have to explain anyone how his music is unique and amazing.
Another artist who you've grown rather close with is fellow Hungarian slash personal rival of yours, Quixotic. While I know you two have since bonded over your shared love of racing and cars, you said that you initially despised one another. What was it exactly that made you two dislike each other so much?
It's funny because before this interview, I just had a half an hour call with him. So yeah, we are talking all the time. He's like one of my best friends. We became really close. It's several reasons, but one of the reasons is that we are both very, very serious about music, and we are right now both of us are doing it full time. I wouldn't say we hated each other, but it was two of us who were the biggest names in the synthwave scene, and it was people who were always comparing us to each other. Like, some of them were like really assholes about it. Like, if I did a show, there were people coming up to me saying, yeah, it's a cool party. Quixotic's party was better though. When I did something cool, they told it to him like, hey, have you heard LAZERPUNK's new track? Man, I think it's the best song in the scene, better than yours. And people were kind of putting fuel to the fire, but we never really hated each other. Once we met and we started talking, we realized that we have a lot in common. It's true for the whole music scene. Like you can look at other people as like rivals and opponents, but you can also work with them.
Is it true that you challenged him to a race once?
No, I mean I would definitely do that with him. Right now we have the same car. He has that car for 2 years. I just got that car, so he has an advantage. And I mainly I'm a biker, so I have much more experience with the motorbike. But yeah, I would definitely race the guy sometime. I'll talk to him about it.
Additionally, you and Quixotic, along with Envo and Gridscape, formed Neon Holom to help set up synthwave
Yes.
events in your home country. How difficult was it initially when it came to organizing shows with venues?
It all started by Envo. He's actually the guy who invited me to do my first live show ever. The guy approached me, hey, want to do a live show with us? And I'm like, yeah, but I never did one before. And he was like, yeah, it's gonna be cool. It was pretty cool. A lot more people showed up more than what I expected. Like, old friends, old classmates, and the feedback was really good. And then we started organizing parties together. Originally, it was Envo and Gridscape and me. We started organizing synthwave and retrowave events in Hungary. They were going pretty good. I mean, Hungary, Budapest, it's a very small city, but the nightlife is great. And even for underground genres, if you're doing it good, you can build an audience and you can make really good parties. And that's what happened. We started doing bigger and bigger parties. After a while, the big clubs noticed us, saying that, oh, okay, this synthwave thing is really something. And then they had the money to invite people we couldn't, like Perturbator, Carpenter Brute, Ghost, Danger, the big names. Right now, due to my own music, like LAZERPUNK, running this project takes up a lot of time, so I kind of put organizing parties to the side. But I'm still doing that.
Moving on to your latest album, Death and Glory, you've been very open about how you've had quite the relationship with the authorities, cracking down on you for racing and speeding, as well as the accidents you've been in, and most notably, you were involved in an extraordinarily nasty collision on your birthday back in August of 2017, where you sustained a laundry list of injuries and, according to you, could have died had you not been wearing your jacket. Even though you had already decided on heading in a darker direction on Death and Glory prior to the accident, how much of an impact would you say that this occurrence had on the final product?
During that time, before I started working on Death and Glory, I had like 1 or 2 years where I was like drifting in life completely aimlessly. Like I just had no idea what I want to do. Why am I even here? I'm pretty sure everyone can relate to the feeling when you wake up in the morning, go to work, get home, and pretty much just stare at the blank screen and just have no idea why the fuck are you even wake up in the morning. I had that for like more than a year. I wouldn't say I was suicidal because then I would have done it, but I definitely didn't really care about what happens to me or what happens tomorrow. And like pretty much two things I enjoy in life is music and driving and speed. So yeah, I think these were the things that led to this accident. In a way, that was a wake up call that showed me that yeah, I could really die and I can end it at any time. Yeah, I was very, very fucking lucky with that accident. I do think that I knew what I was doing. Basically, I hit the brakes really hard when the car turned in front of me. So when I hit the car, I was already sliding on the floor and hit the car with the side of my head and my shoulders, which because I had a proper motorcycle jacket on, didn't really hurt. But if I went full frontal in the car, that would have been really bad. Then I would have just flew over the car. The handlebars would have probably broke my both of my feet and stuff like that. I mean, I had a friend who almost died in a similar accident. Maybe it was just pure luck that I could drop the bike and slide into the car instead of crashing straight into it.
If it's not too personal, and feel free to disregard this question if it is, I wanted to also discuss the second major event that played a big factor into that album's creation, which was the relationship which you had formed with a woman whom you'd planned to form a Witch House project with. Around the time you two met, like you had kind of alluded to a moment ago, you were struggling with depression and suicidal thoughts and cut ties with many people within your social circle and eventually began delving more into drugs with her. How did you two meet? And given that the album is dedicated to her, do you know if she ever was given the chance to hear it?
I mean, after I released the album, after a while we met and talked and even hanged out a bit. She was even there at my debut show in Hungary, so she'd seen it live. Yeah, the relationship between us was never easy. I mean, we are both very difficult persons to deal with. Yeah, mental illnesses and drugs and all that makes it even more difficult. So when two people with such problems get together, it's never easy. We spent some time together, talked a bit after the release of the album, and then we cut contacts again. But as far as I know, when we cut contacts again, she was off drugs, she had a job, she promised me to stop hurting herself. I think she is doing fine now. She also started producing music. But most of the people who do art, they do it for a reason. It's not just a hobby. It's not just to make themselves busy. It's usually that they cannot deal with some things in their lives, like feelings or other issues, and they decide to put that into their art, be it music or painting or whatever, or writing. And that's kind of a therapy, especially for people who don't like to talk about their problems. The fact that she started producing music, I'm very happy about that, because it's a lot better to channel all those feelings and energies into art instead of self-destruction.
The opening track to that record, Ego Death, is it true that it was too much for your computer to handle and you broke your sound card?
I don't think it happened because of that. I mean, I don't know if it can happen, but yeah, my sound card just went broke when I was working on that song, and maybe it was just a coincidence, but it's still very, very interesting that my sound card died exactly when I was working on that song. I think it adds a lot to it.
I know that you've always expressed an interest in exploring new territory, and it's plainly seen in the track Black Lambo, where you rapped a few lines that had been put through a vocoder and stated that the song was sort of a parody of trap and hip hop. Seeing as how you said it wound up being the biggest hit for the record, are there any other genres you'd be a little more comfortable to dip your toes into now?
I used to have a Witch House project, which is kind of a secret. Maybe one day I will reveal it, but I haven't done in that project anything for years now. But it's fun because in LA there was a guy who came with us on the tour, just saying that he knows my music and he has a few free days, so he will just come with us and hang out and help us. And he's organizing Witch House events in Los Angeles, and he showed me his playlist, what he's currently listening to, and it had like only 15 tracks, and there was one of my songs for my totally secret Witch House project, and I was like, whoa, what the fuck? It's really weird that there are people who still listen to the music, and pretty much nobody knows that I'm the guy behind that. Yeah, maybe I will finish an album for that project as well. I would definitely try myself in other genres too. Like, I really like hip hop music, especially, which I know a lot of people will hate me for this, but I really like the new direction hip hop is going into. Like this horrible SoundCloud rap with the autotune and the dumb lyrics and the heavy beats. I like that because that's different. That's really different from like the 80s, or no, not 80s, the 90s hip hop and the old school stuff. I like it when people experiment with stuff and are not afraid to go into new directions. And also, hip hop is really fun to listen to. I mean, I think that's why it's like the new pop music. It's just easy to listen to and easy to get into. Yeah, I'm really interested in techno as well. You know, I kind of started from that field, I would say. Like, we can say Kraftwerk was the original techno. And last year, I've been to Berghain, which is said to be the best or the biggest techno club ever. That was definitely a unique experience. Oh, and there's another thing which happened before. After a show in Moscow, we've been to a club, and it's funny because the club's name was Club Kraftwerk, and there was a girl, MS Spades, who was doing a really fucking great DJ set, mixing like techno and EBM music. I think that's when I really got into techno. Now I'm going to techno parties every once in a while. So yeah, techno is another direction where I will might go one day. I'm not sure if it's gonna happen with LAZERPUNK or if I'm gonna just say fuck it and start a new project which is gonna be purely techno. But I'm pretty open to anything else. I think if you're a musician, after a while you learn to appreciate all genres and all types of music.
I saw that you actually had a role in a music video for a rapper by the name of Mr. Busto. How did that happen?
Okay, it's a funny story. I was just riding around in the summer. I was riding my motorbike, and I called some of my friends to, hey, let's go out for a ride. And they told me that they can't because they are now shooting a music video. And I'm like, yeah, what kind of music video? They said, hey, come here because we need someone with a Kawasaki. Because there's a line saying, Kawasaki Misarole Yamahasi, something like that. It's in Hungarian, but the thing is they needed someone with Kawasaki. So I went there, and it turned out it's like in terms of popularity, and if you look at the numbers, he's probably the most popular rapper in Hungary now. I wouldn't say the best, and he definitely doesn't have the deepest lyrics, but he's generating some very good numbers in terms of plays and record sales. So yeah, that's how I ended up doing like all kinds of stupid stuff in his video. I was just basically riding my bike, racing, and doing like very basic stunts. But in the end, there was only just a few seconds that ended up in the video. But yeah, that's how it happened.
I noticed that you're very open about what's going on in your life and always willing to open up the connection with your fans at every opportunity. But I feel like that's kind of rare in this genre, wherein a lot of artists try to keep their personal life out of sight, out of mind. Why do you think so many people in this scene try to just focus solely on the music and don't really feel comfortable in opening up about themselves?
Well, it's a good question. Sometimes I do think about it, like maybe it would be better if I just just share my music and that's it, nothing personal. But I think it comes from the fact that before I released this album, I spent several months in total absolute isolation. Like I deleted my Facebook, Instagram. I changed my phone number. I didn't meet anyone. There was like during that few months when I was working on Death and Glory, I had 3 friends I kept in touch with. One of them was Quixotic, where he helped a lot, like giving advices on mainly the sound, and also I worked with him on the track Speed Racer. Also Daniel Deluxe, who I worked with on the track Digital Demon. He also gave me tons of advices, and another producer from Hungary, Macabre, who was also helping me a lot finishing this album. But other than that, I had like zero social interaction with anyone. So after that, the album blew up and found myself. The previous day I had no messages, no friends, nothing. I was completely isolated. I released the album, and then I started getting tons of messages and comments, and everyone is calling me and messaging me and stuff like that. And I just didn't know how to deal with this. This project became my personal life as well, and I'm doing everything through that. So pretty much it looks like it's one and the same, my music project and my personal life. I'm not sure if it's the right way to do it, but I don't really care. I mean, this is how I'm doing this. Some people like it, some people don't. Definitely there's advantages and disadvantages, but what I like about it is it's honest. I always tell people how I feel about stuff, what's going on with me. And definitely a huge advantage to that is that the people who are following me, following this music project, LAZERPUNK, it's not just a music project for them, but they feel like they have a personal connection with me. And I think that's the reason, I've been to the US just now for the first time in my life. I met people who I never seen in real life before, and they treated me like a personal friend. That was a crazy experience. And I think part of the reason for that is that I'm very honest and very personal in how I use social media. So even though it was my first time meeting those people in real life, and for most of them I never talked to, but through my social media, they know so much about me. They feel like there's a personal connection, and we are like real friends. And honestly, that's really fucking great. That's like one of the best things about music, that you can go to the other side of the fucking planet, meet someone for the first time in your life, and they treat you as a friend. That's a great feeling.
All right, that does it for me. Is there anything else you want to add?
Even though I haven't released anything for more than a year now that I got back into the studio, I'm planning to release some new music, hopefully some music videos and some new projects. There's a lot that's gonna be happening around LAZERPUNK in the near future. And meanwhile, you should all check out my friend Quixotic's new album, which is really good. So listen to it, share it, and all that. Yeah, he paid me for this.
Thank you very much for doing this. I really appreciate it, Mr. Punk.
Yeah, man. Thanks a lot. It was great talking to you, man.
Anytime.